Picture this, if you will. It's a quiet evening, you're sitting by the radio, tuning through different stations when you suddenly hear something strange. A mechanical voice, cold and emotionless, starts reading out random numbers. 4, 18, 21, 35, 9. Or maybe it's a child's voice, or a robotic beep. There's no music, no context, just numbers. Welcome to the bizarre world of number stations. So number stations are this weird phenomenon that I heard about. Phenomenon? It's a weird phenomenon that I heard about a little bit ago. One of my favorite channels, the Y-Files, actually had a video on it. And I'm sure I heard the video when it came out. But I was rewatching some older stuff and it came up again. And that's when I was like, yo, maybe I should cover a video on this too. It's pretty creepy, actually. It kind of reminds me of Siren Head for some reason. And I don't mess with Siren Head. That's probably one of the creepiest, like, I think it's a creepypasta, but that's like one of the creepiest ones they've made. Like Slenderman, he's weird. The Rake, that's creepy. But Siren Head, hell no. So we're going to cover this. It's kind of weird. It reminds me of like some weird, like old time war propaganda, and that's probably what it was from, is like these old war times. Like old ways of communicating in encrypted messages. So we're going to look into why they still exist and why they still are active even. Like, it's not that they're just around. They still continue to put out messages, which is weird. And you can still sometimes hear them. Number stations are a mysterious radio broadcast that have been baffling listeners for decades. These broadcasts, typically found on shortwave radio frequencies, consist of seemingly random strings of numbers, letters, or just sounds. They often follow a precise pattern, and many are repeated on a regular schedule. That was one of the things that they mentioned too, is that they don't just continuously play audio, they actually are on a set schedule too. So I don't know if maybe in the 30s they set these weird schedules and then just forgot about them. That's a weird thing to forget about for 90 years. The signals can be heard from almost anywhere in the world. I actually didn't know that. I thought it was only like specific places. And anyone with a shortwave radio can pick them up. But here's the thing. No one knows exactly who's behind them or why they exist. Are they a relic of Cold War espionage? Probably. I feel like the CIA is behind this. Just pick a 3-letter government agency. They're probably behind it. A way for governments to communicate with undercover agents, or somehow even more sinister? I don't know. I want to believe that it's not sinister, but I also want to believe that it is, because I would just make the story a lot better. Most common theory about number stations is that they were created during the Cold War as a way for governments to send secret messages to spies without leaving a digital trail. Shortwave radio is incredibly hard to track, and when combined with a simple one-time pad cipher, these number sequences could be nearly impossible to crack, especially without our modern computer software too. Like, actually, I wonder if we could figure it out now. I'm sure someone's tried, but like, how would you know without a current source if you were right or not? You know, I guess before at least you could deduce it. Like if there was an active war zone going on and then you found this weird like radio message, you could probably, with a modern computer, break it down and figure out what it meant. But now it's like, it's just a random source in a random place in the world at a random time. It's not like, oh yeah, this is talking about the bridge over there that we were talking about storming earlier. Yeah, it's probably about that. We don't know now. Spy agencies in both the East and West likely used number stations to communicate encrypted messages to operatives behind enemy lines. Even if someone intercepted the broadcast without the cipher key, the message would be meaningless. Yeah, that's fair. But the strange thing is, these broadcasts didn't stop with the end of the Cold War. They continued, and they're still out there. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is why they still exist and who operates them, if anybody. Like, is it just a tower in the middle of nowhere that no one knows exists and it's just broadcasting? They didn't have solar energy back then, so it's got to be wired to something, right? Over the years of, actually, whoa, hold that thought. What if they did have solar? Because you know how the government's like 30 years ahead? That's like the common like understanding is that the government is like 20 or 30 years ahead of consumers. Like, oh, we have an iPhone. Like, well, they're already like typing away on their wrists. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have electric cars. They have flying cars, or at least the tech for it. They probably aren't making cars. It's probably like fighter planes and stuff, but you get what I'm saying. Like, what if they did have solar? And these are literally just in the middle of random mountains or something. And they're just operating on their own because they're powered by the sun and nobody knows they're there, but they just continue to be powered. What if Bigfoot is actually hosting this show? he's all putting his DJ stuff on. He cracks his knuckles. He goes to start playing on the DJ board. He's like 1, 18, 39, 12, 9. First up, we have the Lincoln. Wait a minute, hang on, I skipped a part. Over the years, a few number stations have become particularly infamous among radio enthusiasts. First up, we have the Lincolnshire Poacher, named after the traditional English folk song that plays at the beginning of each broadcast. The station was believed to originate from a British military base in Cyprus and was active throughout the 70s and 80s. Each broadcast began with a snippet of a song, followed by a woman's voice reading out sets of 5 numbers.
3, 9, 7, 1, 5.
What was it broadcasting and to whom? No one knows for sure, but many believe it was sending a message to British spies. Those damn Brits. It's probably a tea recipe.
Would you like a spot of tea? You? Yes. Would you like a spot of tea? Yes.
Next, we have the most enduring and weirdest number station out there, the buzzer, also known as UVB76. This Russian station emits a constant buzzing sound, interrupted occasionally by a voice reading a series of numbers or names. That one actually would be pretty weird. Whoa, that was weird. Some believe it's a doomsday communication system, while others think it's a form of military communication. I mean, if they've been talking about doomsday, they're pretty late. We're definitely due if that's the case. But whatever it is, it's still active today. Then there's the E10, also known as the Mossad number station. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It's believed to be operated by Israel's intelligence service, and it broadcasts consistent computerized voices, usually female, reading out strings of Hebrew letters. It's suspected that the station was used to communicate with Israeli agents, but the mystery surrounding it is just as deep as the others.
Kilo, Papa, Alpha, Golf, 1, Oscar, 2, Oscar, 3.
Now we're gonna get into the theories. The theories. So what are the stations really for? The prevailing theory is espionage. But maybe like any other mystery, there are plenty of other ideas out there. Espionage. The most popular explanation is that number stations are part of secret government communication networks used to send messages to agents in the field. I like to think that. Like, I mean, why else would you have it still on? Like, I don't know, maybe to find your location or something. Yo, what if? Damn. All right, here's my theory. All right, I don't see this on here, so here's my theory. What if they sent soldiers to the future from the past, and they use those number stations just like they would have way back in the Cold War? They're using it now. Like, there's just secret Cold War agents just walking amongst us, and they hear this message, and they're like, okay, cool. Maybe I'm in the right location, or to continue doing my mission into the future, or whatever, right? Like, why else would you keep it running still, you know? What if there's something being planned? What if we never left the Cold War? Whoa, slow down. You need to slow down. Next one is the dead hand system. Some believe that stations like the buzzer are part of what's known as a dead hand system, a last resort communication in case of a nuclear attack. That also is kind of cool, but it would also come back to like, it's powered by something, right? So what if there was a nuclear war or an EMP blast or something? Like, it's got to be powered on its own independently, you would think, unless there's an underground base connected to it, maybe. Psychological operations. Some people think that these stations might be decoys designed to confuse and intimidate. Yeah, I mean, confuse, sure, but mostly because there's no explanation for it. It's not that it's, well, maybe some of them are kind of creepy, actually. Supernatural or alien theories. And of course, because we can't have literally anything without it being also related to aliens, which I like. Moon landing didn't happen. Maybe there's something out there. Everything from extraterrestrial signals to communications from parallel dimensions. That's actually kind of cool. While these are far less likely, how do you know? How do you know? Almost robotic quality of broadcasts definitely fuels the imagination. Believe it or not, number stations are still active today. That was the whole point of this talk, actually. While some of the famous ones have disappeared or changed frequencies, new ones occasionally pop up. That's weird. That there's still new ones, actually. I thought they were all old. Radio enthusiasts, also known as DXers, dedicate their time to finding and tracking these stations. In fact, you could grab your shortwave radio right now and possibly stumble upon one yourself. Websites like Priom.com, Priom? And the Enigma group keep track of active stations and their frequencies. If you're curious and want to explore this mystery yourself, all you need is a radio, some patience, and maybe a little courage. Yeah, see, I'm not going to just go sit in my car and wait for one of these. That's creepy as shit. I feel like if it comes through your speakers, it's hacked you. Like now you're plugged in. Now they know about you. Forget about my smartphone in my pocket at all times. Once I play this radio, that's it. The truth is, we may never know the full story behind number stations. Are they just relics of a bygone era, or are they still being used by the secret communications to this day? One thing is certain, number stations represent one of the last great mysteries of the airwaves. In an age of digital surveillance and mass communication, these old, crackling broadcasts remind us that some secrets are still hidden in plain sight. That's number stations for you. Hopefully you have enough information to kind of come up with your own theory. I'm pretty sure the time travel thing is like the most logical reasoning here. Like it literally can't be anything else at this point. The only other thing it could be is aliens, obviously. Imagine standing outside on a perfectly clear day when suddenly you hear a metallic booming sound, like an explosion in the sky. There's nothing there though. No planes, no storms, nothing. This phenomenon has been reported for hundreds of years in places all over the world, from the US to Australia. Scientists aren't sure what causes skyquakes, but the theories range from distant thunderstorms to meteors entering the atmosphere. Some believe that they could even be related to tectonic activity or underground explosions. But no definitive answers. It's one of these strange natural events that we don't have an answer for yet. This is skyquakes. There aren't a lot of things that actually really scare me. Jesus. I feel like I'm talking weird. There we go. I'm into a lot of weird stuff, and like, it's not that I believe in everything. Like, I'm not necessarily like a conspiracy theorist or whatever the term would be, but I'm definitely willing to look into and consider a lot of stuff. But there's only a couple of things that genuinely scare the shit out of me. Hellhounds, if those are real, would be absolutely horrifying. But another one that really does scare me is skyquakes or sky trumpets. They genuinely, the fact that they are just a random explosion or metallic sound or a hum coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time, that's pretty gnarly. The bizarre atmospheric boom noises, generally known as skyquakes, have occurred all over the world, from Bangladesh to Belgium, Northern Ireland to South Australia, and Germany to Japan. This widespread occurrence has fueled a variety of explanations, ranging from atmospheric conditions to seismic activity. Some even think it's military, which, I mean, that's fair. I feel like the military tests all kinds of weird shit. We know they have interest in controlling weather, so I mean, maybe this is something like that. There are accounts of unexplained sounds from the sky that date back to ancient times. Historical texts and legends from various cultures have described phenomena that could be interpreted as skyquakes, including loud, unexplained noises from the heavens. One of the earliest reports was from an island in the Adriatic Sea in 1824. While in 1896, a skyquake was heard in the western New York town of Franklinville, around 50 miles from the shores. They're known by a few different names. The French call them cannons de mer. I speak English, I'm sorry, this is going to be messed up. Cannons de mer or sea guns. In Italy, they're known as brontidi or like thunder, and the Bangladeshis call them barisal guns. Barisal guns? After the loud, unexplained noises that emanated from the East Bengal region of Barisal. Oh, okay. In the 19th century. Japan calls these atmospheric boom sounds umanari, or cries from the sea. That's fucking sick. The Indonesian word for skyquake is dentuman, which literally translates as clatter. That's also cool. However, perhaps the best known name for these spooky sounds is the Seneca guns. All right, I've never heard of Seneca guns. That's also a pretty cool name, but it looks like that comes from the Seneca Lake, which is one of the Finger Lakes in New York's west central region. The mysterious moniker originates from Seneca Lake, where these bizarre sounds have historically been reported. However, the phenomenon is not limited to this area. It's been heard from the Great Lakes to the coastal areas of the US, particularly the East Coast. Between 2013 and 2015, seismologists from the University of North Carolina have used a network of 400 atmospheric sensors to measure local seismic activity and compared the seismoacoustic data with local news reports of skyquakes. Some unusual activity was reported around the appropriately named Cape Fear in Carolina Beach, but they found no evidence that earthquakes were causing the booming noise. In fact, they found no evidence at all.
Lighten up now.
Crazy. It's like a trumpet.
One of the most commonly accepted causes is that it is a sonic boom produced by aircraft that is caused when they exceed the speed of sound. It causes a sound. They can travel a great distance and be heard far from their origin, often without the aircraft even being visible. As scientifically plausible as this is, however, skyquakes could not be caused specifically by supersonic flight because they've been heard for centuries. The next possible culprit is seismic activity. Minor earthquakes or underground seismic events can produce sounds that are heard above ground. These sounds can sometimes precede or follow actual tremors, and in areas that are not typically associated with frequent seismic activity, they might actually be surprising. Another possibility is that it is atmospheric conditions that amplify sound waves from distant storms. It could also be industrial activities or even other sources like actual military weapons and etc., making them audible over long distances. Temperature inversions, where a layer of warm air sits over a layer of cooler air, can trap and channel sound waves in unexpected ways. I don't know if you can hear that, but my cat is like trying to rip the door down to get in here. Another possibility is extreme weather. Events such as sudden releases of atmospheric pressure or explosive lightning strikes within storm systems can generate loud sounds. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we've all heard thunder before, and as we'll find out looking at some of these clips, I've never heard thunder quite like these before. Methane explosions could also explain this. The release and ignition of methane gas from underwater or underground sources can produce loud, unexplained sounds. Methane can accumulate from decaying organic matter in places like swamps or underwater deposits. I mean, fair enough. That would probably sound like an explosion. The entry of meteors into the Earth's atmosphere can cause sonic booms or explosion sounds as they disintegrate, often accompanied by visible streaks of light. That would be crazy. I know, I mean, again, I'm not going to disprove this because I'm not a scientist, but a lot of the videos and the clips that I've seen, there aren't visible meteor showers either. And a lot of time, I mean, I guess this could be during the day where you might not even see them. But at night, I would think you would see lightning strikes and stuff, especially like at least the light, unless it's in the city. Maybe, I don't know. What do I know? This is another topic that I want to cover at some point, but like all unexplained acoustic phenomena, the Taos hum in New Mexico being a perfect example, there are a range of theories that push the boundaries of accepted understanding to their outer limits.
is scary. What is going on?
Skyquakes could be caused by sounds generated by the strain within the Earth's crust, potentially without accompanying detectable seismic activity. Theoretical electromagnetic events in the atmosphere that might cause sounds or interact with the Earth's surface are another speculative potential cause. The problem I have with that is that it's theoretical. We don't know if that actually exists. So I mean, it's a cool idea. Definitely looking for answers though. Definitely looking for some solid facts. Supersonic weapons and military aircraft. I personally think there is a ton of stuff we don't know about as far as weapons and testing. Actually, I know that for a fact. We don't know a whole lot. And supersonic jets could definitely be causing this. Maybe they move so fast we don't see them. Maybe they're so high up in elevation that we don't see them. I don't know. Maybe they're invisible. I don't know. They've been trying to figure out cloaking devices for forever, so maybe they did it. Astrophysical phenomena includes speculative theories about phenomena like micro black holes or dark matter interactions. Both of those are super speculative because black matter, dark matter, whatever you want to call it, we don't even know exists. It's just a theory that explains other stuff that we can't explain. Micro black holes, that would be insane though. Coronal mass ejections is another thing I'm going to cover in a later video. That is another possible explanation. They are massive bursts of solar wind and energy that sometimes can reach the Earth and aren't fully blocked by the atmosphere. They can induce disturbances and could possibly lead to audible effects. It's theoretically possible. We do know that CMEs exist. We've witnessed them. It's more just the sound that we don't know for sure could be an effect of that. But we do know that they happen. My favorite and honestly the only logical explanation is ET. Honestly, can you think of anything else that makes more sense than aliens? Obviously, it's a mothership. One of the coolest possible causes for the sky trumpet phenomenon is actually discussed in the Book of Revelation. Now, I'm not religious anymore. I do have a big respect for religion as a whole. I think a lot of people it does a lot of good. I think for some people it does harm, but that's beside the point. The point is I do actually as a at one point Catholic, I do kind of have some sort of resonation with this story, if that even makes any sense. But in the Book of Revelation, it was described as 7 trumpets sounded by 7 angels to signal the beginning of the end, essentially. After the 7 seals are broken, the trumpets are sounded one at a time to basically kick off the end of times, the apocalypse, the biblical apocalypse, though. Christians who follow the post-tribulation rapture doctrine argue that the 7th trumpet is the last trumpet mentioned in the Corinthians 15:52. The nature of the 7th trumpet shows that time is no more and that the mystery of God is finished. That I took off of Wikipedia, so I don't know what that what book exactly that's quoted from. However, I guess post-tribulation rapture. I'm not super familiar with that, but that is pretty terrifying. So if you believe in that, I'm just as open to that as any of these other theories, to be completely honest. I'm pretty unbiased, but that's pretty terrifying. Kind of getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. I hope I never have to hear these, honestly. Like, I hope I never do. So I'm going to hear about this all night while I try to sleep. The age of video and audio recording has opened the doors to discovering all kinds of new, creepy, crazy, and awesome stuff, and of which there have been certain recordings made in history that have perplexed scientists and caused rumors and conspiracies to form out of them, because a lot of these audio recordings have gone a long time without any explanation, and some of them have yet to be fully explained or totally debunked. And we're going to be looking at some of those today. So leave a like down below if you enjoyed this video, and let's get into the craziest audio recordings ever captured. The first sound we're going to look at is called the bloop. Now, this was recorded deep underwater. If you're not already afraid of the ocean, you definitely will be after this. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. I don't know. I'm definitely still afraid of the ocean, and nothing's going to change my mind. That shit's scary as hell. But not as scary as the bloop. This sound was recorded in 1997. That's the year I was born. So I definitely don't remember this at all. But the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, recorded a low-frequency, ultra-powerful underwater sound off the coast of South America. It was so loud that it could be heard by two separate hydrophones 3,000 miles apart. It was so loud that it could not be any documented animal that we know of.
This noise perplexed scientists for over a decade. That noise was heard by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, in 1997, and it bewildered researchers for years.
Theories started to pop up about this being a Leviathan or the Cthulhu or what have you, right? Some sort of undiscovered monster. Now, personally, I think it's aliens. We later did discover what it was as scientists moved more into the colder climates and started investigating underwater sounds in the Arctic. That is when they officially made the discovery that it was a part of a massive ice block that separated from a glacier. They were able to not like mimic the sound, but they had a very similar instance happen, and they've had them happen since. So we now do know that it was a very, very large chunk of ice that separated from a glacier. When they start to break apart due to melting and whatever, they make very loud, low cracking noises. And so they're more than positive that's what the sound was that they heard. However, it didn't obviously change everybody's minds. Again, it's underwater aliens. I mean, you know, maybe they shot the glacier and broke it apart. The very next sound we're going to look at, we're going from deep in the ocean to straight up in the sky. In 1977, Dr. Jerry Amen, an astronomer working at the SETI project, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence project, discovered a strange radio signal while scanning the skies for alien intelligence. The sound lasted 72 seconds and was so significant and so strange, Amen actually wrote "wow!" exclamation point next to the printout, hence dubbing it the "wow" signal. It matched the frequency that scientists believe could be used by a intelligent civilization trying to communicate. The problem, we've never detected it again. over 40 years later, and we still don't know exactly what caused it. There are a few theories on what kind of caused this wow signal. Those range from space debris reflecting signals from Earth back to Earth. It could be a spacecraft or satellite that we don't know of, or, you know, maybe it's a different country and they aren't supposed to have it up there. That's what makes this so weird, is that it was literally just a one lone signal that burst from deep in space. The next audio sound that we're going to look at is one called the upsweep. Now, this one is believed to be coming somewhere from the Pacific Ocean. This one was recorded in 1991. The mysterious noise has been baffling scientists for years and is still actually currently unexplained. So although we did kind of debunk the bloop, this one has not been necessarily debunked just because of its location. Now, scientists do believe this one might possibly originate from underwater volcanoes, since they are kind of located in that same area that we believe this sound comes from. But again, this is just where we think it came from and what we think might be causing it. Similar to the bloop, however, we have actually heard this multiple times, but again, we still can't necessarily pin it down. It's also been heard at different intensities and frequencies throughout the years. Some researchers suggest that it could be due to shifts in underwater geothermal systems, but once again, there's no proof. The mystery only deepens when you consider the upsweep has been gradually decreasing in intensity throughout the years. So is it disappearing? Are we eventually going to not hear it at all, and it'll just forever remain unsolved? The next one we're going to talk about is the hum. It has been heard by both machines and people, and it's been not just scientists, but everyday people. If you've ever heard a low, persistent humming noise at night and couldn't figure out where it was coming from, you're not alone. A hum has been reported all over the world, from small towns in New Mexico, Taos for example, to major cities in Europe, and yet there is no clear explanation for it. Some people describe it as a faint droning noise, while others say it is a low rumble. It's been blamed on everything from industrial equipment to distant traffic, but this is where it gets weirder. Not everyone can actually hear it. In fact, only about 2% of the population have been able to detect the hum. Going back to Taos, I actually knew this because we're from New Mexico. The entire town of Taos would just go about its daily routine, you know, day in, day out, except very few people couldn't even fall asleep at night because of the hum that they would hear, and the rest of the city would be fine. So it is really weird. Eventually, I want to do a deep dive onto this, but for many, the hum has become more than just an annoyance. It's linked to sleep disturbances, anxiety, and even health problems. People are super sensitive to noise, people and animals. There are certain frequencies that cause anxiety. There are certain frequencies that cause people to be more irritable. So that's the government. I'm sure the CIA knows all about this. As with some of the other ones, we don't actually know what causes it. It could be tectonic movement, could be, well, there aren't really any volcanoes near Taos specifically, so that wouldn't be it, but we don't really know. Pretty weird. All right, the next sound is the Julia signal. And again, this one came from underwater. It also came from the Pacific. Scientists picked up this sound with an array of hydrophones in 1999 and dubbed it Julia. It's also believed to be a large glacier running aground in Antarctica. This one was about a 15-second audio clip and has not been heard since. It's probably a glacier or aliens, but it would be pretty nuts if something just absolutely massive was living in the Pacific Ocean. That'd be pretty nuts. That'd be pretty insane. Just, you have like some massive creature just hiding underwater in some deep cave, maybe. Just, it wakes up and just, ugh! And scientists all over the world are like, oh my God, what was that? All right, and the very last one we're going to cover is skyquakes or sky trumpets. I actually did a video about this last week, so you can go check that one out. I break it all down for you, but the skyquakes, trumpets, clatter, whatever you want to call it. They've got a bunch of names. These have been written down in documents for centuries. So it does kind of dispute a lot of the theories about it being technology or, you know, human presence, because we didn't have planes that could create sonic booms. We didn't have large machinery. We didn't have traffic. None of those things could have been it, at least back then, right? Maybe it is now. They vary in sounds from loud booms to explosions to rattling to hums. It kind of depends on where it's heard and when and who's hearing it. But
Lighten up now. That's crazy, man. Man, that's crazy. It's like a trumpet.
the phenomenon is reported for hundreds of years all over the world. Scientists have tons of theories on what it could be, but nothing has been pinned down specifically as a culprit. They actually still don't know. And it's weird. There are mentions of it in the Bible. The book of Revelations discusses it as the 7 trumpets from the 7 angels to signal the end of times. After the 7th trumpet is blown, the biblical apocalypse begins. If it helps, I think we've had more than 7. So not saying I don't believe it, just saying it's either not true or we're very due for it. With that being said, guys, this was 6 of the craziest sound recordings we have ever captured. Let me know what you think lives in the bottom of the ocean. If it's just aliens blowing up glaciers, I want to hear it. But until next time, guys, drink water, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.